Hello everyone and welcome back to your regularly scheduled YouTube video. Today's review is going to be on the Transformers Studio Series 8611 Perceptor, a character that prior to this figure I've never actually owned a figure of, so let's take a look at the packaging. You got Transformers the movie, Takara Tomy, Generation, blah blah blah, Perceptor, he's in fact an Autobot. You got 86, you got art, you have the plastic window, you got the art on the side with 86, you got the art on the side again, deluxe class, then you have a thing on the back, which shows Perceptor in his robot mode, his microscope mode, and his tank mode. And this is quite the long thingamadoodle, but after observing the fleet of incoming enemies, Perceptor reports that a cursory evaluation of Decepticon capability indicates a distinct tactical deficiency. Or in other words, they're outnumbered. I did get this in a Walmart 2-pack, so the barcode is, like, blacked out. So, let us get to the part of the video, which is the unboxing. So here's Perceptor as he comes packaged out of the box, but what you're going to want to do is take the microscope and bring it up and snap it into place to give him his little shoulder cannon, and there is Perceptor in his robot mode. I'm tired. I think this robot mode looks really good, really accurate to the 86 movie, with a lot of panel lining and mechanical detail. Turning him around to the back, the only hollow part on the back is this giant gaping hole where the head goes for conversion. I feel like they could have gotten rid of that. They also have these holes in there for where the hands go, but can't fix everything. You do get a 5mm port there, although I'm not 100% sure what that would be used for. And then you get 5mm ports on the side. So, turning to articulation, the head is on a ball joint, and you can utilize the transformation joint to make him look up that far. You can look down that far, you can tilt slightly, and it can rotate side to side. The microscope can look down on a really nice ratchet. Listen. I love ratchet joints. And then you can hinge it up if you so choose. Then it angles out, but that's more for transformation. Shoulders pull a full 360. Hinge out to side. There is a bicep cut. 90 degrees at the elbow. Nothing at the wrists except for this kind of inwards motion. There is a waist joint. Hips kick forward, click here, and then unclick to go forward a bit further. They go back that far. They go out. You gotta kind of click that into place as well. Let's do the transformation. Thigh joint. This kind of gets in the way. I wish that locked in better, but hey, you can get them into sort of a cross-legged sitting pose if you really wanted to. But you have a pretty good way past 90 degrees of bend at the knee. You got an ankle pivot, which this panel broke on mine, but whatever, and you get a toe down. So articulation-wise, Perceptor is pretty good. You could get him into some nice action poses. Oh, God. But he does have some balancing issues, it appears, with the whole thingamadoodle on his shoulder, but you can get him into some action poses. And what good would a gun pose be without a gun? Which he has. It's a little tiny red blaster, and I think it doesn't look half bad. That plugs into his hand really tightly, actually. And there you have Perceptor shooting down, I want to say Soundwave because they both have little things here, but now let us turn to Perceptor's transformation, which is like it's almost exactly what you'd expect, but it does a couple things you wouldn't expect. So the first thing you want to do, rotate the head, spin him around, and just collapse that into that gaping hole. Pretty simplistic. Then, for the microscope, this doesn't parts form, so getting it into the center is a pretty neat process. So you fold in the hands, they just kind of slide in there. They don't really, it's a pretty good slide. You shift these pieces down, you bring this up, and there's a panel here that you bring up, and a panel here, and this tab pegs into that slot. So you just slide that in, and that is how you get the microscope in the middle, which is pretty nice. Next, what you're going to want to do is rotate the ball jointed shoulders and straighten this piece out. Bring this piece up, and this slot will go into that tab, so just collapse that in. Do the same thing here. Now we go to the legs. The legs are pretty simple. They're doing pretty much exactly what you'd expect them to do. You bring this piece up until it clicks, bring this piece out until it clicks, bring this piece forward, and collapse the toe. It literally does exactly what you'd expect it to do. Then, let's lower the camera. Now for final few steps, you want to take this clear plastic piece and hinge it down. And then you want to take the microscope and ratchet that downward. Make sure everything is straightened out. And there you have Perceptor in his microscope mode, which I think looks really good. The reason I got this in the tube pack that it was in, because it came with Wheeljack, and I already had Wheeljack, so I repainted that, and now I'm trying to get the paint off so I can repaint it. The whole thing. So, the reason I got the tube pack was mainly for this guy, because he looks... Because I like the novelty of him just turning into a microscope, and you can actually see through this. You can actually see through it. It's not the best vision, but you can see through that. And I'm just realizing I forgot to do robot mode comparisons, so after this, I'm going to do robot mode comparisons, but first, vehicle mode comparisons. So first up, we have the Studio Series 86 RC, and I think the scale between these two doesn't work very well, because, I mean, like, it's a microscope versus a car, but I think actually in the movie, the scale is pretty close to this. Now we have Deluxe Class Prowl, which, once again, scale between a regular microscope and a car is definitely off here, but I think that these work decently together. And then finally the 86 Ironhide. Do I have the normal one? Yes, he is right here. Hello there, my friends. Am I transforming him for this comparison? No. Why? Two reasons. One, this one is more cartoon accurate with the consistent paint job, stripes, cel-shaded plastic. And two, this thing's vehicle mode doesn't really hold together because the front thing broke off. If you watched my last video, you would know that. But the front clips on these pieces snapped clean off. So the front of the vehicle mode doesn't really hold together that well. So that's why I'm using this Ironhide, and this is the Ironhide I'll use for all my 86 comparisons. Now that we have microscope mode comparisons done, now let's move on to what should have come first, but my dumb brain decided to forget about. Robot mode comparisons. So first up, we are going to bring in RC, who I think next to Perceptor looks pretty nice. I think the scale works for these two, as do I think the scale between him, and Prowl works as well. We must remember, he is dead. As is Ironhide, but... okay. This is a deluxe, And this is a Voyager. Bruh. Why is he bigger than he is? Well, it's because this guy has much more complicated engineering than he does, but whatever. Now, I'm going to do a little quick transformation, so that way we can go from microscope mode into tank mode. So, transformation time-lapse starts now. Alright, now that we've got microscope mode, now let's turn this thing into a tank. So the first thing you're going to want to do is rotate the hips to about this point. Then you're going to want to take this piece, straighten it out, and redo it. This port, this uniquely shaped port, will go into that peg on the arm. Straighten it out, then do the exact same on the other side. So it's less of a triple changer, more of a hidden, not hidden third mode. But I like this tank mode. It's really nice. I think it works good as a vehicle mode. Unfortunately, Perceptor does not include any wheels, so he just scrapes across the floor, but whatever. And for weapon storage, I think this... Oh! That does fit in there. So he can have 2 barrels. So that's nice. Alright, now for some size comparisons. Alright, so after transforming the 3 figures, now we're bringing them in for some good old size comparison time. We got 86RC, who I think scales pretty well with this tank mode. Review for her coming soon, but just... I will have some complaints. Just forewarning y'all of that. So next up, we have Prowl. And once again, this is a more realistic scale. And last but not least, we have Ironhide. And once again, this is a more realistic scale between tank and a van, which is good. Now I'm going to do a quick time lapse from tank mode to robot mode. So, wrapping up on this review for the Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Autobot Perceptor, I think that this, despite its challenges and merely existing, well, no, it's actual... I think that this figure is actually a really good figure to own. I think that it is nice, the detail is nice, the transformations are nice, everything about it is just nice. So if you do find an opportunity to pick this up, I would say do so. That has been all for this video, and I will see y'all later.